Well, I'm going to call you KB just because I know I can now.
But
KB, I know fouls have been an issue to start the season for you. How do you kind of work through that and try to keep yourself on the floor a little bit more?
well, it's just me being more aware, being more smart, like with my like just like basically more aware on the court. Obviously, like last year with my role changing, being a starter from being a person coming off the bench, it's obviously different. Like last year, I could come in and be aggressive all I want, and like pick up like probably like two quick fouls. But this year is like I can't do that. But like I'm just still trying to have that mindset to be aggressive. I'm not trying to be like a passive somebody that's like passive. I'm still trying to show like, well, even though I might be a starter, but I want to be smart. These past few games probably say I haven't been smart because I get cheap ones that I know that I can't get. But like I'm just gonna keep myself being aggressive and I just gotta be smarter on the ones that I do get and the ones I just gotta avoid.
You mentioned realizing you got to change how you play because of your different roles. When did you realize that? When did you realize that role was going to be so different being a starter?
Well, during the summer, I knew once I found out, like obviously when we got closer to game time, and Coach Mike was doing his groups, and then like I found out I was starting. But then when Coach Mike challenged me to like be like, "Okay, I just need you to do the stuff that I need you to do." That's like rim run, just be like energetic, be just like affect the game and all that. That's when I realized that at one point I was just focused on more like scoring and stuff like that, trying to like okay, like I gotta be like a scoring big. But like then I realized I'm like, nah, that's not really my game. I just need to be the person I was last year. Just but like I just gotta bring that from the start of the game. Like I gotta be the person to start it because I'm a starter this year. So I really learned that like really I'll probably say after like the game after Texas Southern, that's when I really changed my mindset. Like after the first game, I really had to change my mindset. Like, cause I had to change my mindset. So I'll say Texas Southern. That's when I realized like, okay, I just need to be the same Caleb last year. Just this shit starts.
Awesome. Thanks, Caleb.
Like,
Our next question is going to come from Chris Becker. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey KB, if you look around the league, there's a lot of offensive teams and a lot of teams are scoring over 100 points each week, and you guys are on the other end, focus more on defense. Has that been weird at all to look around the league and have this defensive focus, whereas other teams don't really focus that much on defense?
no, I don't think it's weird because like the one thing about us that we're doing really good this year, like obviously it's like we're only 3 games in, but like we're doing so good at like we do one thing bad one game, the next few games, like next game, we got better at that particular thing. So like one game, it was like our defense has to pick. After the first game, we said we got to pick up our defense. We held the team under 65 points, and then we played Marquette. We held them under 65 points. It's just like we're so good on focusing about the defense. Like we really don't care about having a high scoring game because we know like those kind of games. That's how you keep like players in. If we have a high scoring game, but at this point, we just basically just trade buckets, and we're not trying to be that team just trade buckets. We're trying to be that team to get kills, get stops, and just like do what we do it, and that's run.
A couple weeks ago, Coach B talked about how tough it is to get these freshmen to come in and immediately have this focus on defense. How do you and some of the other guys who've been in this program a couple years, help the freshmen kind of get in that mindset of defense is pretty important?
No, we just like we like in reality, we just tell them how it's going to be when we get basically conference play. Like obviously, like we're playing some good teams that's not in our conference. Obviously, Marquette was a really good team. 67 was. We play Oakland next, and like Wichita State after Oakland. Like we got some quality teams. So we honestly just tell them like, hey, look, this might work for this team, but when we get in conference play, you got all pro guards, all pro. You got pro guards, pro bigs. So if you don't do this, this is going to happen. And like, I tell them like, I seen it. I was one of those people that was like, think like, okay, well, he's probably like over exaggerating. I seen that and I'm like, well, they warned me for a reason. At some point, like we just tell them like this will happen if you don't do this, and then we just try to like let them know as much as possible, because there's a possibility you could get embarrassed and you don't know what to do.
Thanks, KB.
Thank you.
Frank Bonner, you are up next. Take it away.
Hey, Kalib, how's it going?
It's going good.
Against Marquette and against UT Arlington, you guys were put in some tough spots as a team. What are your thoughts on the way you guys have been able to come together and pull out some of those tough moments this early in the season?
I think like the way we got out of those tough moments, which is us sticking together as a team. It goes like a lot of that goes to Coach B and like the way he coaches practice, because obviously like those 2 games, like I was in foul trouble one game. Both games, K was in foul trouble with like in the first half of Marquette. And like it's just like he puts us in scenarios where like, okay, what if K has 2 fouls in the first half and he has to sit for this long? What about me like having 2 fouls and all that? So we just like he puts us in a position where okay, next man is up. And obviously like next man was up. Bryce was unbelievable against Marquette. So was Rondell. And like UT Arlington, like people just stepped up. That's a lot of credit to Coach Mike. But it's also like as a team, how like comfortable we are and like how like selfish we are, that we don't care who like if he's playing more minutes than me because of this. Like we're on the bench and like bringing energy to each other, you know, like pushing each other and just encouraging one another, because like we're just happy to see each other succeed. And really that's what it is. Like we stay together and we trust what Coach Mike has been doing, and like we stay as a team.
You mentioned Rondell. How big of a spark has he been for you guys these last 2 games off the bench?
I know he's been great. Rondell's been great. He's putting that like the work for it and putting a little bit like putting extra work too on top of that. Coach Mike said the best after the Texas Southern game, like it shows up when you put in the work. It's not like just like an accident. Rondell has been playing unbelievable and putting the ball in the hoop, being just a spark, and that's him every practice. So like all he does is play hard, and like he's a hard worker, great guy on the court, will listen to you, and just a team player. He'll do anything that you need him to do on that court.
And you talked about, you and Keelan playing together a little bit before the season, but now that you've had 3 games of you guys both, being starters and at this high level, what has that been like, just looking across the floor when the start of the game and knowing that your brother's right on the floor with you?
I know that's a great feeling, man. Like me and Keelan been through like so much, like growing up. Obviously, like last year we told y'all we didn't even like a lot of people didn't expect us to make it, like even finish like summer. People thought we was gonna be home by the summer, and then like we finished our freshman year, and then me and Keelan was like, oh yeah, we can do this, like we can start, and like just start. It's amazing because now like we're hungry like to keep that spot, and we want more. Like we want to be like those leaders, and like just having him just like at the beginning of the jump ball, man, like I can always just look to my left and my right, and I just know he's right there. I dap him up, and he tells me like, "We got this." I tell him, "Bro, let's turn up." And like we just go out there, we just go ball, and man, like that's been like I couldn't wait. I could enjoy this moment with anybody else, honestly. Like having my twin by my side, man, that's an unbelievable feeling.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Next question comes from Marshall Scott.
Yeah, Kalib, that front court you guys faced against Marquette's, by far the best that you've faced this year. You were matched up with Theo John a lot. Kind of seemed like an annoying guy to go against. Is there something that you can take from that game that you learned maybe from him that you can take moving forward?
Yeah, I can say like I can't let somebody doing like the little things get to me so early of the game. Obviously, him doing the little things that he was doing that game frustrated me the first half. But I just got to be a better player to the point like I just got to block all that stuff out. Like I picked up a cheap foul, just wrestling with him at one point, and and I obviously I threw a turnover, which led to me getting my second foul. And if I'm like mentally in the game and not worried about like what he was doing and all that, I wouldn't picked up my second that early. So that game I learned I just got to be better. If somebody's doing all the little things, man, I gotta let Coach Mike handle that. I just gotta do my job. In the second half, I did a better job of just saying, man, you know what? If he's gonna be this big annoying dude, want to do all this little cheap stuff, I'm gonna just have to live with it. And that's what I did. So I could just say I just gotta run off of that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. And you've obviously practiced against Cade in the post quite a bit, I'm sure, this preseason. Just how good is he in the post for being, a point guard?
I know Kate is unbelievable in the post. I tell him all the time that he's one of like I can say and I love Bernard, I love May, and I'm showing everybody, but I said like he gives probably like he's one person that's probably hard for me like to get like to score on because like obviously he's worked with Cannon and Cannon probably taught him all the little tricks, the necks and everything to stop it big. But like me and Ked, like if he was to post up, we go at it. He knows he got some tricks, I got some tricks. And Kate is really like really good. His spacing game in the post is really unbelievable because he got the little ball fake and like it's so hard for people like not to bite on it. So his post game is really unbelievable.
Gotcha. And you're talking about Rondell earlier. How long have you known Rondell? I don't know if I don't think you played on the same AAU team. He's OKC or Tulsa. Have you known him for a while?
Yeah, I know Rondell for a while. I always used to play against him like once a year in the TLC in Oklahoma. But like I knew Rondell for the longest. Rondell's always been like the more like I got older, playing more. So I in my junior senior year, that's when like I started to know him more and talk to him more. But yeah, I always knew Rondell from like Oklahoma City and like Tulsa.
How much better do you think Oklahoma high school basketball has gotten over the last few years? You had a good class. Rondell had a good class. It seems like this next class coming up is pretty good too. How much have you seen it grown in your years?
I think it has grown tremendously because I remember when I first got in high school, it was just more like big stocky like people, just like not really versatile. But like now you see people like playing 6'7", playing the wing or like. Just like you just see how versatile like high school basketball is getting, and like how more competitive it is in Oklahoma. A lot of people don't think like Oklahoma has really good basketball, like it's competitive, and like a lot of people think it's easy. It's really not easy because any night one of them small schools can like really like can beat you just like that. So I've been a part of one of those losses. So like Oklahoma basketball is really better than what most people think, and they produce some really good players, obviously.
Gotcha. Thanks, Caleb.
Okay.
The next question from Robert Allen. Go for it.
Yeah, Caleb, this is getting to be a year where you are you're seeing more action. How are you at looking at film and using film to make your corrections and learn from?
I'm literally like when I watch them, I'm watching like my energy. I'm watching to see what I could have done better, how I could have probably affected like anything in the paint. It's just like me being more like versus like just like and like seeing how I could have guarded certain areas because like last year I was just watching probably like what is this dude's go-to move to like when I came off the bench. Now I'm watching like I gotta see this guy, I gotta see that guy. I'm watching all these different spots because I'm trying to be like that presence. If I blow this player by doing this, probably like it doesn't get to this extra. So I'm trying to like watch more when I watch film. It's just not more my guy like how it was last year.
You talked about tricks with you and Cade. How about that little left-handed baby hook he's got? That got him on Sports Center the other night.
Oh, it did? Yeah, no, that his hook shots is like that though. It's hard to block. Sometimes I'll be in practice. I just want to say like, forget it. I just want to go block it. I don't want to go to him. I'm not that kind of person. So, I mean, I am. I just don't want to give them an easy bucket because it's going to irritate me.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Jacob Unruh, do you have a follow-up? Go for it.
Caleb, you kind of played in a wide range of arenas with fans and no fans and whatnot this season already. Have you noticed much difference between arenas and the fans?
Yeah, like the one thing I noticed about Marquette was like perfectly. Like the example is like without that like that fan like without having fans at that game, it really showed like it felt like a home game for us. Like it like without fans, it's basically more about the team that feels more like they just wants to be there more. And like that Marquette game, like from the jump, Ice, me, Kate, Keelan, we was just like, man, this just feels like a home game for us. Like we feel like we're in GIA, just playing, chilling, about to get ready for like in like for a game. It felt more like we. It felt like we didn't even like leave Stillwater at one point. So like we was just saying that, but like the difference, like I seen playing with fans and without. It basically obviously fans bring a lot of energy towards the game when things go good and things go bad. But like without the fans, it shows okay which teams can like bring the energy without the people. And like my Marquette game, that's what we did. We brought energy when we were down, when we was up, and we didn't look back. And that's why that game was like really that was the big difference. Obviously, Rondell and Bryce, but like that was huge. We brought our own energy when we was down there and up.
So who brings that energy? I know you said you try to bring some energy. Who's the energy guy?
Uh, K talks a lot. Ice does. Rondell is a really big spark. But yeah, I say Rondell, Bryce, or K because K does talk like K brings a different kind of K energy. So does Bryce and Rondell.
You've seen other teams have to go through cancellations and postponements and shut down the programming. Like OU's not even open the season until tonight. Do you guys watch that stuff and get worried yourselves and knowing that you have a positive test in the program right now too?
Um, I don't. I look at some of the stuff and like it's kind of like bumming to see like because obviously there will be a lot of good games going on right now, but if we don't get worried because like we're sacrificing so much just to play. Like obviously like everything's not normal. We're not allowed to go do everything like that we was doing last year in college, but like this year is more like we just got to quarantine. Like it's gym, practice, go home, sleep. Like we're just doing so much differently. Like, and we're trusting like what we're doing, what the coaching staff is doing. So like we're really not worried. Obviously, like with the positive, it something that you can't hide from because obviously a lot of people's gonna get it regardless. If like I know people that quarantine didn't do much and still got it. So like, it's something that you can't run for, but like we just gotta say like, man, we keep doing what we're doing. Hopefully, like it doesn't affect us, but if it does, man, like Coach Mike said, next man up. Well, we gotta go through this period together as a team.
Are these road trips a drag? You talk about being quarantined at home and not being able to do so many things. Are these road trips a drag too, being stuck in a hotel the whole time?
It kind of is, but the one thing I do like, I like catching up on sleep. So,
All
so
right.
catching up on the sleep, it's a lot better. Because
Awesome.
last year we was on the go.
Do what?
Last year we was like always on the go from the hotel and everything. So this year it's probably like a lot better because we get a lot of sleep.
Awesome. Thanks, Caleb.
Chris Becker, did you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, just one quick follow up. You talked to Robert about film earlier. I know Eric Pastrana is pretty big into film. How much has he helped you in your time here?
Oh, he helped me a lot. Obviously I'll go in there and watch film with him. He helps me see like different angles and ways I can help my teammates score. How I can like score, how I can like help my playing guards get downhill. I just talk to him and we watch film. He helps me like I said, see different things on film that I don't see on the court. So like him doing that, it helps my game grow and my IQ just grows as a player.
Thank you.
Do we have any last questions for Caleb Boone? Not seeing any. Hey, thanks for joining us today, Caleb. We'll be right back with Ferron Flavors.
Thank y'all.
All right, we're back with Ferron Flavors. Feel free to take that mask off, Ferron. Sorry. See, that's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Well, first question, we will go with Jacob Unruh. Go for it.
Baron, how's it going?
Good. How about you?
Doing well, doing well. I wanted to ask kind of what your evaluation of your shooting is this first 3 games.
Yeah, definitely just trying to get a rhythm, man. After a long off season, and not playing any games, it's kind of, a little difficult. But I'm not worried about it. I'm a shooter. I get up enough reps. I trust in my shot. And, it's a season. It's a part of basketball. I'm not worried about it at all.
You seem to be extending your range.
Mm-hmm.
How deep are you looking to go? How deep can you go?
If I have space, I feel like I can go anywhere. So, that's a part of why I added strength this off season. Being able to step out, as far as I need to be able to get a clean look. So, really, as soon as I cross half court, I feel like I got, enough range to shoot from there. So,
what has really impressed you about Rondell and his fast start?
I think I said this. We did media cup. I think it was the second game, home game, and I said, it doesn't surprise me. Me and Rondell, we're pretty close. So I talk to him all the time. So and just outside of that, when we're on the court, he competes. So we go at each other all the time in practice. He makes me better. I make him better. We all just challenge each other all the time in practice. So seeing him get off to a nice start like this, definitely not a surprise to anybody within the program. That's for sure.
And I told you I'm going to ask you this probably every time. What's the ice cream flavor lately for you?
Man, I think what did I have recently? I think the last one I had was cheesecake, strawberry cheesecake ice cream. Yeah, it was pretty good.
That's good stuff there.
Oh yeah. I try and mix it up, man, every once in a while. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Ferron.
Yeah, no problem.
You got to tell people about your face mask. The Ferron Flavors.
Yeah. I got a face mask too. With I think Courtney got a picture of that, so I might have to post that one too.
The next question. Go ahead, Chris Becker.
Hey, Ferron, you guys switched defenses midway through the first half. How difficult how difficult is it to kind of change that quickly, without even a timeout? You're in man in one possession and then zone pressure the next.
Nah, it's not difficult. The coaching staff, they do a good job of, just making sure that we're all on the same page. And then on top of that, us as leaders, making sure that, when the coaches get a call to us, that we make sure that everybody on the court knows exactly what we're in. So, yeah, I don't think it's not that difficult. Yeah.
And you guys have a pretty big defensive focus on the team. Coach Boynton's talked about how difficult it is to, get the freshmen to kind of buy into that defensive focus and away from the offense when they get here. How have you and some of the older guys helped, try to buy into this program?
Yeah, it's just, making sure that everybody understands that, we have one end goal. We all want to win every single time we step out on the floor. We want to put ourselves in position to, be able to, win our conference and, go to the NCAA tournament, regardless of, what people seem to believe right now. We're still eligible to go to the tournament. So, just make sure that we're just competing every day and, being ready to go, and just make sure that everybody understands that, defense wins championships. It's oftentimes, overlooked. A guy might have a great defensive game and, not score the ball, but, you helped impact us winning. So, like last game that we had against Marquette, it was a real team win, so because everybody chipped in regardless of, how many points you scored or, how many times you got a rebound or, any of that stuff. Everybody that came into the game definitely played a big part in that win. So.
Thanks, Ferron.
Yeah, no problem.
Next question from Frank Bonner. Go ahead, Frank.
Hey, Frank, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Hey, before the season started, I asked Boynton a lot about how this unusual offseason affected conditioning and everything. So now that you guys are 3 games in, how has the conditioning level been? Just being in the games after having an unusual offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I say the first game, it was the first game, the first about 5 minutes, it was tough. Kind of just getting your lungs back used to playing like that. We always like, man, my chest is burning, my throat's burning, but the last 2 games, it's been, it's season time. Coach Jake, he did a real good job of preparing us in the short amount of time that he did have once the season was announced. So he did a great job, and everybody, we just work hard, and especially in practice, we're so competitive in practice where it translates. You know what I mean? Practice for us is a lot harder than the games, so I feel like everybody's in good shape.
Being able to go as deep into the roster you guys are able to go with talent you guys have, how much of that plays a factor in players not having to necessarily overextend themselves because you've got somebody who can fill in the role when you need a breather?
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, like overstaying yourself. I feel like we all when we get in the game, we know that we can give 110% and get tired. Let's say so. Rather than being able to just take some plays off, knowing that I got to still be in the game. Like, I mean, you go hard for 4 or 5 minutes, and you can come sit down, and then the next dude's gonna go in, go hard for 4 or 5 minutes also, and then it's vice versa, just like that. So our depth, we're a real deep team for sure. So I feel like that'll help us, especially going forward.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem.
Next question coming from Marshall Scott.
Hey, Ferron, thanks for taking the time. I was just kind of wondering, what's you and Bryce's relationship like? I imagine you guys have some commonalities, both being older guys. That's being your first year here. What's your relationship with him like?
It's real good. That's my roommate. We live together. And we talk all the time. About all types of stuff. Like you said, we're both older guys on the team. Both of us went to junior college. Stuff like that. So we got a lot of things in common. So we're able to bounce different ideas off of each other, and also just crack jokes. The typical stuff that guys do. So.
Gotcha. Mike's kind of been, talking about how good he can be in the preseason, but we hadn't gotten to see it, obviously, with him missing the first game, not playing a whole lot in the second game. What was it like to see him, have the game he had against Marquette?
Yeah, it was good, man. I mean, I told him, I'm glad he's back. He helps the team in a lot of ways. I know Coach has said it. He does a lot of different things well. It's not like he's just, he does one thing good. Like, he can do a bunch of different things that help impact winning. So especially having him healthy. I mean, it's definitely a plus for our team for sure.
How did you guys, I guess, become roommates? I imagine that's a little awkward for a little bit. You guys don't know each other too well. How did you guys first kind of meet and become roommates?
So at first, when he got here, what happened? At first, I lived by myself all summer, so that was cool. So I thought originally that I was gonna live by myself all summer. So I was like, I'm the only senior, they'll get my own place. So when they moved him in, I want to say it was like into August. By that time we've already been practicing and stuff. So it was already cool. And then yeah, so I mean, it wasn't too big of a transition as far as living together.
Gotcha. Thanks, Ferron.
Yeah, besides stuff disappearing like bowls and stuff like that, but other than he does a pretty good job.
Appreciate it.
Next question from Ryan Breeden. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, Ferron, we've talked before. Well, just people have asked about like the difference in the home environment when you guys with the less fans. But what's the road environment feel like? Is it any different?
Yeah and no. Like, I mean, obviously, you're not in the comfort of your own home. So I don't get to sleep in my own bed before the game, like stuff like that. But as far as especially like the last 2, even when we was at Arlington, I mean, we didn't. I think there was maybe 1,000 people there. Like, I mean, that's not a lot, especially considering the conference that we're playing in, the school, our fan base that we have and stuff like that. So, I wouldn't say that it's felt like sort of like practice, but I mean, we've already, mentally prepared ourselves for that. And you look at the NBA, they didn't have any fans, when they were in the bubble, and they were still able to get out there and compete. So, we just knew that, regardless of, who's there, who's watching, who's not, we're going to have to come out here and compete every time. And, oftentimes bring our own energy. So, I think that's kind of like the biggest thing, especially when you go on the road. I mean, but oftentimes, that's the same thing as it's been in the past. When you go on the road, you got to bring your own energy a lot of the times anyway. So
that leads perfectly kind of into the next thing I was going to ask you about with Coach Boynton prioritizing you guys bringing your own energy. Do you guys feel like you've been doing that to the extent that you hope so far?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think we have. I think that's somewhere that we're going to be able to keep building on. I don't think that it's at the point where it can be or where, it possibly will be, so I feel like that's somewhere that we got to keep working at and, keep fine tuning it because, especially when we start getting on the road and, in conference play coming up here in the next 2 weeks, we just got to be able to make sure that we're able to bring our own energy,
And then what's one strength do you guys have right now and one weakness you feel like you guys need to fix going forward?
I'll go weakness first. I definitely say rebounding. Obviously that's not a secret to anybody. That's somewhere that we gotta definitely keep getting better at and, keep improving, especially with, such a small team in terms of down low. I feel like that's going to be something that we got to, keep making it as a group effort versus just telling our bigs, oh, you guys got to go get 10 rebounds. Like everybody has to, help do their part, box out and different things like that. So that's one weakness. Strength, I say just, how well we play together. I feel like that's something that, will be very, very hard for other teams to deal with, especially considering that, we literally have 9, 10 guys that could get 20 points a game. And so, just, making sure that everybody's, just ready to go, when game time comes. I think that's going to be the key for us just moving forward.
Thanks, Ferron.
Yeah, no problem.
Next question is from Jacob Unruh.
Hey, Ferron, kind of falling off the fans in the arena and stuff. You played junior college basketball. Is this kind of the same idea?
Yeah. I mean, for me, junior college, my team, we wasn't that good. So, home games, we probably see 50 people, 60 people. So, it's not nothing unusual for me. In high school, I won 2 back-to-back state championships. So, every game we is sold out. So, you go from that your senior year to, playing in front of 50 people. It's kind of, in this term, it's kind of the same as it is as far as this transition from last year. I was at a mid-major. We still had a big fan base there. So you're 5,000 a game to, now, when we go on the road, some places they don't even let people in. So, only playing in front of, just the arena personnel, it's really the same thing. So, for me, it's definitely not a big transition as far as that goes.
At that junior college level, did you struggle with that energy at first that you have to bring on your own?
No. Junior college, I was on a mission, man. So, it wasn't that hard to bring my own energy.
On a different topic, Isaac's shooting has improved, especially outside.
Mm-hmm.
I know you didn't play with him last year, but what kind of improvements have you seen from him with his shot?
It definitely improves. We've shot a couple times after practice together, just helping them with different little things, stuff like that. So, just, seeing him shoot the ball, with confidence, it's definitely going to help us, in the long run. Teams aren't going to just be able to not guard him when he's out there no more. So I've seen highlights from last year and stuff like that of people just completely sagging off, so yeah, they definitely won't be able to do that this year.
How much did you see him emphasize the outside shooting?
How much has he emphasized it?
Yeah, how much did you see him do that? Yeah.
mean, I see him get him up every day. I mean, so man, he's definitely confident in it. So um, yeah, it's definitely gonna help him a lot for sure.
Awesome. Thanks, Farron.
Does anyone have any last questions for Ferron Flavors before we let him get ready for practice? Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys for having him, and we'll be back with Coach Boynton here shortly. All right, Coach Boynton, can you hear us?
I can. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, that's perfect. Well, great. Well, go ahead and start raising your hands, everybody, and we will get the question started for Coach Boynton. Jacob, start us off. Go for it.
Mike, how's it going today?
Good. It's been a day already, but we're trucking along.
Yeah, it happens, right? It happens. Hey, looking more back on Marquette, the defense, now that you've had time to reflect more, what are your thoughts more on that defense that you guys played the other night?
I thought it showed some real potential for us. It's obviously something that's been a little bit of a contentious point for me the first few weeks of the season, just that we had been a little bit further behind defensively than I usually hope to be. But it showed that, we have the ability to do it, and we have the ability to do it maybe differently than I envisioned. I've always had a zone available. I've always had something that we could go to. I've never really been a zone coach. We've used it quite a bit here the first few games, and it's something we need to continue to develop.
For that zone, how do you decide when to kind of deploy that then now that if you want to use it more?
I always say, man, coaching is so much about knowing your team. And I told our guys to be ready for our zone in our first preparation for Marquette on Sunday. Just after watching them play, thought with their size, I was a little concerned that maybe if we didn't put bodies around their bigs, they can give us issues. And so just knowing your team, it's a feel thing, really. There wasn't any real numbers to go off of. Obviously, they haven't played a ton of games. They haven't played a team like us before or this year so far. And they've got really a different style of play this year. I mean, they got a kid who just left who scored almost 3,000 points. I'm not sure how to play zone if he was still out there. But got a feel for it. We got to a little bit of a slow start in terms of keeping the ball out of the paint. And so that helped kind of stem the tide. It also gave us a little bit more energy and was able to get us to force some more turnovers and get out in transition, which always is our best offense.
You mentioned the bigs and the different stuff for them. Kalib has kind of been off the floor a bit more than you probably want at this point. He said he's kind of learning how to adjust to being a starter and knowing that he can't get quick fouls like he maybe could have off the bench. How have you seen him kind of adjust to that role?
It's been a little bit of a struggle for him, but not one that I hadn't thought about. It's been a concern of mine, just the quantity of depth inside. And I talked about this before. We don't have a small team. We just don't have a ton of depth inside. And obviously we have pretty big guards, which kind of negates that a little bit. So we feel like we can rebound well, but we got to find a way to help him get a little bit more comfortable, a little bit better rhythm early in the game. And so I think that's going to be maybe how we approach Saturday's game, is try to get him going offensively a little bit, which may settle him down on the defensive end.
Thanks, Mike.
The next question from Frank Bonner. Go ahead, Frank.
Hey, Mike, 3 games in, I kind of want to revisit the conditioning conversation. Where do you think they have been in terms of that?
I think we've been pretty good, actually. Again, I think when you asked that before, it was kind of a wait and see. I don't really know what to compare this year's conditioning to. So many different factors involved. The timing of everything, the way we're playing, so many new guys. But I'm pleased with what we've been able to do. Obviously, when the games have been on the line, Ice and Cade have been playing a lot of minutes. They both have been in the 30s, but 2 of the first 3 games. And so I feel good that they're being able to hold up. The important part is what they do in between games. How do they take care of their bodies? Are they still stretching? Are they getting in the cold tub, ice baths, those things that'll be able to sustain them throughout the year?
And having, some of your bench players like Rondell Walker come in and give you really solid minutes, how much of that helps just keeping your guys fresh?
Oh, it helps a ton, enormously. I mean, one of the things that I've constantly felt good about is just the depth of our perimeter play. And obviously it showed up here in the first week of the season already that we've got a few guys who can come off the bench pretty consistently. I never really get caught up in who starts, but I feel like no matter what, we'll be bringing guys who are capable of making a difference in and off the bench. And, who knows? It could be Rondell, Tuesday, Saturday, it could be Ferron, next week it could be somebody else. And then obviously you always feel good that Cade Knight's going to be able to bring it for you.
Thank you, Mike.
The next question is coming from Robert Allen. Go ahead, Robert.
Hey, Coach, asked Kalib earlier today about the use of video, if he's getting better at watching himself on film and learning from watching the film. You've got a lot of young players and learning from your video, learning your mistakes and how to play better off film is an acquired talent. Where are you overall with guys as far as, good use of video?
I'll be perfectly honest, that's the next step for our group. Ferron is the best guy we have, and it wouldn't surprise you. He's an older, more mature guy. He's been around the block. He understands it. The other guys will come in if they're asked. He's the one that asks to come in himself. Donovan's getting better there. But again, part of it was he struggled so much early that he realized he needed help. But those other guys, we still got to get there with them. Even our sophomores. Avery's probably our best guy in terms of watching film from a young's perspective. But it's definitely the next step for this group if we're going to achieve the way we feel like we can, is to understand how to improve without going on the court.
One other question. Everybody's asked about crowd and atmosphere as if it's a total negative, that kind of the juice has been taken out of the arena for games. I'm going to ask, as a coach, scientists like to be able to focus with lack of distractions. There's certainly a lack of distractions in the building. Have you noticed a difference for you in being able to zone into the game because there isn't anything going around? There's no activity?
I don't know if I ever really got caught up in any of that stuff. I'm so focused on the game. I'm telling you, I remember my first game coaching. I didn't even realize the referees were out there. My first game as a head coach, I think I got to like the 1 minute mark of the game, and I was trying to sub our end of the bench guys in. And John Cooper taps me and says, "Hey, you can call the timeout." And it never dawned on me because I get so focused on our guys and how we're playing and what guys are doing. I think this year it's just more noticeable because you certainly don't ever think to look up there and not see anybody. The only time the other night that I even realized it was when MA got fouled, and I heard them playing music while he was shooting free throws. And I wanted to turn and say, somebody turn the music off. This guy doesn't need a distraction right now. But, it's part of the deal. We're adjusting to it this year.
Thanks.
Chris Becker, give us your next question. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Were you worried at all when you switched to that zone midway through the first half and just out of kind of middle possessions?
Yeah, it was pretty early. I don't know if I would say I was worried. Now, I wasn't happy about being down 12. That wasn't part of the plan, but it was something we talked about having ready and being ready to go to, and I think our guys responded the right way. I was excited to see how we would respond to some adversity. It was the first time, taking a bunch of guys on the road against a real power conference team. Basketball is a big deal at Marquette. It's one of the most successful programs in the history of college basketball for a reason. And for our guys to stand up and bow their necks and be ready to go out there and compete the way they did. And we didn't play particularly well. I mean, we got kicked on the glass. We turned it over a bunch. We didn't shoot it great. We found a way to win, and that's very encouraging moving forward.
And having something like that zone that worked so well and kind of frustrated Marquette, do you think that how much of a positive is that to carry into Big 12 play coming up with a whole bunch of teams that are built a lot like Marquette?
Yeah, I always say, I mean, this time of year is really about trying to figure out our team, who we are, as much as it is about our opponents. We got to figure out what combinations work, what schemes work, who can really make shots. I mean, not from practice, like who's going to make them on game day, who's going to rebound, and this is the time of year you do that, because come this year, mid-December, when you start conference play, you got to have a pretty good idea of who you are and what your identity is going to be. And so I feel good that we're learning some of these things. We're figuring out that we can go to zone and still be pretty active. We forced 24 turnovers, playing 30 minutes of zone. It's pretty good. And so it's certainly something to be excited about moving forward.
And one final thing, you talked to Robert about watching film with the young guys. How much does Eric Pastrana help this team, and especially with the film aspect?
I mean, I don't know if I could say enough about his value to our program. He knows me better than anybody on our staff, and obviously he's not been here that long, but we had a really good working relationship. We got a personal relationship. He's one of my dearest friends in the whole world. He knows what I expect. I can hand him some responsibilities and never think about it. I know it's going to get done at the highest level possible, and he's all in to try to help us have a successful program. So he does a lot of things well. He's a really good recruiter. He's a really good player development guy. He understands the game. He works his tail off. He's going to be a head coach at some point. I hope not too soon, because I need to keep some continuity here, but I love him, and I'm thankful that he decided to come here and help me build this program.
Thanks, Coach.
For our next question, let's head over to Barry Trammell. Go ahead, Barry.
I think you're on mute, Barry. I can't.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, we're in. You're 3 games in, and you've got your games in, which is fantastic. But a lot of people haven't. Are you worried about the continuity of the season, the ability to get this thing up and running, or even finish? Some people have talked about delaying it. What are your thoughts on where we are and whether we're going to be able to pull this off?
Yeah, well, obviously, if we're speaking from our perspective, we've been as fortunate as anybody. We've played all the games that we had scheduled so far, at least on our final schedule. And so we feel really fortunate. I don't know how it's going to go. I don't even want to pretend to throw a guess out there. I do feel confident that we'll get through. What it looks like at the end, I have no idea. But we'll get through this because, hey, it's good for the kids. I really believe that, in all sincerity. We've asked these kids to sacrifice so much to not give them a chance to get this thing off the ground. Maybe you got to pivot at some point and try some different things, and maybe you slow down and maybe you take a break. But we got to give them a chance psychologically, emotionally, to do something that they've worked so hard at. And so I'm thankful I'm thankful for our training staff here. I'm thankful for our medical team here. I'm thankful for the Big 12. They kind of really been out in front. I started with football, making a decision to play when many conferences weren't in the fall. And I'm thankful that we're playing in this league, and I'm working at this university with this team and our staff. But there's no question. There's going to come a point where maybe we have to look and decide, should we take a break? And when that comes, I'm sure that the people who will make that decision, because I will not be one of them, I can assure you that I won't be in that room. I'll get told what happens. But I'll support that decision, and I'll do everything I can to make sure our kids are in a good place mentally.
How strange has it been so far? 3 games in, 2 road games, 1 home. Stephen was telling us about, you had to get delivery for your meals in Milwaukee. Just the kookiness of it all. How strange has it been?
Yeah, it's been it's challenged everybody to see how flexible, how nimble. Right? I think that's the key word to this year. How nimble can you be able to make it work? Our athletic administration and our university leadership has done everything we can to support our athletic teams and athletes to play. But part of it is some of the sacrifice, right? We're wearing masks on planes. We're taking 2 buses. We got different circumstances. We can't meet the same way. We're not spending the same time. And so, yeah, there's certainly some things that are not ideal in terms of a normal basketball season. But 2020 is not a year where the word normal is anywhere what it used to be. So I just can't say how much I am thankful that these kids have had a chance to play 3 games already. I know all the coaches in our league got great relationships. Several of them haven't been able to play all the games, and many of them have had to adjust their schedules early in the year already. So I just pray for the best for everybody. I hope we get through this pandemic, which we will sooner than later. But obviously the need to be flexible is of the utmost importance.
Thanks, Mike.
The next question is from Grant Ramirez. Go ahead, Grant.
Hey, Coach, you kind of touched on it earlier a little bit when you said you noticed how Marquette was playing music while MA was at the free throw line. But after the game, Rondell said that having no fans makes the game less mental. Obviously, I think everyone wishes fans could be there fully, but do you think this kind of subdued environment for younger guys makes it easier for them to transition to college basketball without having that added pressure of a game environment?
I think there is something to that. Again, Marquette being the program that they've been historically, I would imagine if we didn't have the pandemic, they would have had a pretty damn good crowd in there on Tuesday. And it could have affected the way our guys felt, especially if we had the start we had, right, with the crowd and the way that plays into how the game goes. But, there's nothing really we can do about it. It is what it is for this year. It won't be the last time we play in a building where fans aren't allowed. I'm thankful that we'll be able to have the number of fans we can have at our home games, but it certainly will affect some of the psychology of, you go to different places, you see really quirky things. You see guys shirtless behind the basket while you're shooting free throws. You're not going to see that. No one can be down there. So those would definitely be things that'll be different for especially the young guys than in other years.
Thanks, Mike.
Next question from Marshall Scott. Go ahead, Marshall.
Yeah, Mike, just kind of going back to the zone stuff. I could be wrong, but last year you guys ran a little maybe more 3-2 and you had a 1-3-1 a little bit. What kind of went in the decision to go with a more traditional 2-3 against Marquette?
Well, I mean, I think I've said this before. I don't have any hobbies. I literally digest basketball about 20 hours a day. It drives my wife crazy sometimes, but I sleep and all the time I'm thinking about, like I wake up in the middle of the night and I have like a little thing, like a notepad. I draw plays up like in the middle of the night just so I don't forget. And I come in the morning, I usually go right to Keaton's office and say, here was my dream play of the night, right? And sometimes it's about defense. But I know that this year's team in particular, we got pretty good size up front. We don't have a ton of depth in the back. So a 3-2 kind of exposes the back line of your defense a little bit more. 2-3 gives you a little bit more manpower back there, if you will. And having Cade and Ice as your back wings, you got a little bit more traditional wing size. And then you got Rondell and Bryce, particularly the other day, really active athletic guys up front, which just gives you a chance. Again, it's just about knowing your team and then thinking about the best way you can put a strategy together to have them have success on a nightly basis.
Gotcha. And then moving on to Ice, his scoring numbers, I guess he hasn't, led the team in scoring yet this year, but he still filled the box score a whole lot in a year where, he's the definite leader of the team. Just how, I guess, beneficial is it to not have him, need to take all these shots, to him being okay with being that guy that just kind of does everything?
I think it's even more important this year than before that he is who he is naturally, right? A guy who doesn't have to get 20, but can. He's capable. Right? We got, for the first time, right, we got multiple guys who can create offense without me trying to figure out how to get them shots. When you look at Rondell, when you look at MA, when you look at Cade and Ice, obviously, when you look at a guy like Bryce. And so we got multiple guys who can create. And that just takes pressure off, right? We were at about this time of year last year where we lost Ice and we really lost our identity. I mean, we didn't have a way to turn because we didn't have another guy. Avery wasn't quite ready to do it yet. It wasn't really Cam. It wasn't really Lindy's personality to go take over and create offense. And so I think the recruiting's showing up and the way we're playing. And Ice, his days will come. And as soon as teams start thinking that they can forget about him, he'll jump up and get 20 himself.
And then in the post-game video that you guys put out, you kind of praised Donovan Williams on a steal he had. We've talked in the past about him not being a 20-shot-a-game guy this year. How important is that to kind of keep his morale up through this year where he might not be on the floor as much as he ever has been?
Oh, it's critical. It's a critical part of my job is to help him understand the future, right? Like this isn't the end for him, right? The path that he and Cade are walking are very different, for example. And I make it very plain to him. It's not about trying to do what he does. You guys can both get to the same destination. You just may have to do it in a different way. And so I don't ever want him to get caught up in, well, no one's talking about me. And I was Mr. Basketball in the state of Nebraska. Well, it's not because you're not good. It's just because your time isn't now. But there's some valuable moments for him this year. The opportunity to practice every day with this group is going to help him become a really good player for us. And, he's got a natural swag or edginess about him that's going to bode well for him down the stretch. He hasn't lost confidence in his ability. And the fact that he's brought in to understand that he's got to help us defensively more than offensively now is certainly a positive sign.
And then last thing for me, what's kind of the scout on Oakland? They've got blown out a lot this year, but then they played Michigan really close.
I think it's just kind of a byproduct of what we're dealing with. They were at a point where they weren't practicing kind of heading into the year. I think they practiced like twice before they started 5 games in 7 days, which is probably not advisable. So they're doing what they can. They got a great coach. He's been there forever. He does a really, really good job. I know that we're going to try to prepare for the team that played Michigan. I'm not going to try to get my guys to assume that we're going to do to them what Purdue or Xavier did. We know they got shot-making ability. They haven't gotten a rhythm yet. The key this year, again, though, is about us. How do we get better? Who are we going to become? What's our identity going to be when we turn to conference play?
Thanks, Mike.
Next question from Neil Rule. Go ahead, Neil.
Hey, Coach, I appreciate the time. Thanks a lot for making yourself available. 2 quick ones for you. You look at Oakland, and Coach Campy probably doesn't like zone even more than you don't like zone. But as you talked about having only 2 practices before the season started, they were kind of forced into playing it exclusively, and they turned Michigan over 20 times. What do you guys have to do in order to not fall victim to that?
Well, I'll tell you what, if we don't take care of the ball any better than we did on Tuesday, that zone is going to give us a lot of problems. And again, I have an unbelievable amount of respect for Coach. He's done an unbelievable job with that program year in and year out. And I think that they're going to be just fine as they're given time to practice and get to know one another on the court. But we've got to, first and foremost, we got to take care of the basketball much better. We got to pass it more efficiently. And then we got to do a job on the glass. We've got to do a really, really good job rebounding against the zone when there's not true responsibilities from a rebounding standpoint. And then obviously the one thing that always opens up a zone is if we can make shots. We haven't made shots consistently this year yet. And I just got my fingers crossed.
And then, Mike, the other one I had for you, just the immense level of talent that you guys have on your roster. What's the biggest challenge with that, other than there only being 40 minutes a game and other than there only being one basketball?
That's really not the challenge as much as people may think, because we got a group of guys who like each other. I think that helps. And we talk about it in recruiting all the time. You can't just put the most talented guys together. All right. They got to be good enough, but if they don't work together, it doesn't work. And I've been a part of some staffs that have had teams like that. I've been a part of teams as players that's played that way. But we got a good group of guys who play together and respect each other's abilities. So our biggest challenge is, how do we embrace whose night it is, right? And not fight that a little bit. So like I said, in game 1, Keelan and Cade kind of stood out. Ice had a good game quietly. Rondell came out and had a really good game the next day. Bryce Williams showed up on Tuesday and showed why he's capable of getting 20 points on a given night himself. Ferron Flavors hadn't got going. Caleb Boone hadn't really got going. So we gotta just understand that's who we are as the year goes along, and I think that's a good thing because in many ways it makes it harder for teams to key in on stopping 1 or 2 guys. And if they don't do that, if they don't fight each other's success, then we have a chance to have a special season.
Thank you very much.
I think we have time for one more follow-up. Jacob, go ahead.
Mike, I was kind of curious, between the 3 guys that missed the game the other night, Avery, Chris, and Montrell, do you have any kind of update on them, if they'll be available this weekend?
I don't know at this time. And I hate to say it this way. It's kind of a day-to-day deal. There's so much unknown. I rely so much on our doctors. I mean, I literally don't practice anybody unless Kevin Blaskill trainer tells us he's good to go. And obviously he doesn't let anybody practice unless Doc Ivan says he can go. So it's a trickle-down effect. Whoever shows up to practice today, they'll practice. If they practice tomorrow, they'll be available for Saturday. If they don't between now and then, they probably won't play.
Is Chris's knee been bothering him? Is it surgically repaired knee? Has that been an issue?
A little bit. You know, again, there was some, be perfectly candid, there was a lot of discussion about redshirting him. Not because he's not capable of helping us, because, hey, we got kind of pretty good depth in the backcourt, and not for this year, not really counting, right? We don't know how much he's going to play, when he's going to be really ready, and why risk it. But given the fact that this year is kind of a throwaway from an eligibility standpoint, we can literally use him when he's available or have him play when he feels most comfortable. He's a great asset to us, and we don't lose anything from an eligibility standpoint. So he'll be fine. He's still not 100%. He feels better he's probably further along than he thought he would be, but not quite all the way there yet.
And walk-ons, I haven't seen them at all. Are they not part of game day at all? I know they weren't traveling, but are they not going to be home games too?
I think that's a moving target in some ways, with trying to move through some of the logistics with how the games are played. I mean, it's a little bit complicated, you know, what percentage of your roster has to be available and all that stuff. And then you have limited amount of seats this year too. So normally, you know, if a guy wasn't playing, just sit him behind the bench, put him in street clothes. Well, you can't do that this year. So if they're not going to play, it's a good chance they won't dress. And if they're not going to dress, there's a good chance they won't come to the game. So.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And we will see everybody on Saturday when we take on Oakland. Thank you very much.
Shout out to Zach. Great to see you again, buddy. Hope you keep getting well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks, Coach.
No problem.